So E3 season has officially come and gone, but there are still plenty of new games to discuss, one of which actually leaked online ahead of an official announcement. So we have to talk about that today. We also have all-time sales records for the Nintendo Switch when it comes to pre-orders and the popularity of some of these new games that are around the corner. And finally, Skyward Sword HD does have a detailed list of new quality of life improvements that we can expect when this game releases. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now guys, I'm going to kick it off today covering the big game leak that recently happened over the weekend, and that is for a Castlevania Advanced Collection. And if you guys don't know, 3 of some of the highest rated Castlevania games did come out on the Game Boy Advance, and some of these games now are retailing for over $100 for just the cartridge on eBay because they're that beloved by the fan base. And there was an Australian ratings board that actually has a Castlevania Advanced Collection now being published. So we actually do know this to be probably pretty for sure at this point, considering that an Australian ratings board would not just make this up out of nowhere. And while Konami has not actually officially announced this at this point, we obviously are going to be expecting it to drop on the major platforms here soon. You can definitely take Nintendo Switch to the bank, and then we'll probably see it on PlayStation and Xbox as well. It could be a Switch exclusive. We still don't know at this point, but I would imagine it to live across all 3 platforms. But guys, this one's really exciting for me because I actually did not get a chance to play the Castlevania Game Boy Advance games, but I'm looking up some of the Metacritic scores, and like 2 out of the 3 are rated at 91, and then one of them is 87. So these are obviously some quality titles, and if you are a fan of the Metroidvania style games, this would definitely be one that I would recommend picking up at release. But let's keep our ears and eyes open for an official announcement from Konami, as I would expect them, now that this is being rated, that this has to be coming up at some time soon. So be on the lookout for that. If you're a Castlevania or even just a Metroidvania fan in general, these ones will probably be worth picking up. I do not know though how they will actually be resurfaced as a collection, because at this point it's all, speculation. Just all we have is the title is being rated, but are these just straight up one-to-one ports with the same kind of pixel art graphic styles as what we could have seen on the Game Boy Advance, but just slightly up-resed and maybe like widescreen support? Or is this something where they've actually done a engine overhaul and threw them into one of like the 3D or 2.5D rather styles of Castlevania games? So all of that remains to be seen. But if you guys are a fan of this franchise, it's definitely an exciting time for you, and myself included. And then from there, guys, we got to talk about some of these pre-order numbers that are happening with Switch software right now. As obviously not everybody was a fan through and through of Nintendo's E3 2021 presentation, but what you can't argue is how unstoppable the Switch sales numbers are right now, because even though not every single title that we were hoping to see unveiled at E3 was announced, they still have a very stacked the second half of 2021, and we are seeing some huge numbers come out as GameStop has now actually unveiled their list of the top 11 most pre-ordered titles. And guys, Nintendo has 5 of the top spots on that list, and so I do want to read through them here quickly with you. The first and most exciting one to me is Metroid Dread is actually the #1 most pre-ordered game right now. We also saw them top the charts on Amazon as well. So while people are saying, there's a lot of discussion about if this game is worth $60 or not, I think it absolutely is. Obviously, I'm a hardcore Metroid fan, so I'll happily pay what they charge. But that being said, I think what they're building here and what they're going for with the conclusion of the original Metroid story, I do think that this is worth it. And I think that the Switch is absolutely the base console that can get this game over the 3 million mark and into the 5 to 10 million even over the lifetime of the console. Whereas if you guys know anything about Metroid sales numbers, you would know historically they do not perform very well. But this could obviously change that for Nintendo and change really the name Metroid as a whole going forward, and also kind of getting those users ready for Prime 4, as it's obviously still in a very deep development state at this point. But guys, that was an exciting one to me to just kind of focus on. Then from there, you have Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD coming in at the #2 spot from GameStop most pre-ordered, and that's to be expected, as Zelda is pretty much an unstoppable name on the Switch, and it is always going to sell, even though this is probably the most controversial 3D Zelda, primarily because of the forced motion controls. But I do think that we will see that kind of change this time, as you know, we now have the option to go ahead and map that to traditional controls, and we'll talk more about that game later because we have an update on it as well in the video today. And then you obviously have Mario Golf actually coming in at number 3, because that is set to launch like this week. Like, it's literally June 25th is when that game will be out. So if you want to pick up Mario Golf on the Switch, make sure you look at that. It does look like it's super fun, and some of the RPG elements and kind of like level up mechanics appear to be in the game, and I do think that this will be one that I will be picking up as well at release. Then you do have Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl that are coming out on November 19th, taking the number 4 spot, and that's really no surprise there, as Pokemon games have a huge user base on the Switch, and I do think that these will perform very well, even though the art style was heavily criticized or, you know, discussed online, just because it looks very close to what the DS original version looked like compared to when it was originally released, and not everybody was super happy with the presentation. But that, if you put that aside, guys, these are some of the best handheld Pokemon games out there, period, and I do think that it'll absolutely be worth picking up, and that's coming in at number 4 spot. Then from there you have Mario Party Superstars coming in at number 5, which I do expect this game to sell very well, as you know, in addition to Super Mario Party that has sold very well. I do think that this one has really more of my attention than most Mario Party games, just for the simple fact that these are going to be compatible with button controls, and they do have some of the classic stages from the N64. But guys, if you just look at that first top 5 right there, I mean, that's a big deal for Nintendo, and it's only going to push the Switch to continue to sell, as they are going to be coming up very fastly, approaching 90 million plus consoles in this actual like upcoming couple next quarters. So I mean, that's a big deal. This is uncharted territory for Nintendo, and they have the software to back up the console sales, which is really exciting to see. And then from there, guys, I do want to provide just a super quick update around the download code error that has been happening on the eShop, as it does appear that Nintendo has gone in and done some server maintenance, and there is a bunch of people who are having that issue who are now reporting that they are no longer having it. So if you were one of the affected users, you may just want to quickly hop into the eShop, try to download something, and see if you're having the same problem. As when I covered this in a previous video, there were a ton of comments from people who were having this issue and could not even get some games to download no matter how many times they tried. So it was obviously a very frustrating time. It does appear that Nintendo has some more future scheduled maintenance, like in a week from now, to go in and change some other stuff on the eShop. But from what I can tell, the majority of the issues that were affecting the users at the end of this download issue have now been resolved. So hopefully you can log in and check it, and make sure you leave it in a comment down below if it worked for you, or if it's something that you're still not able to get past even after Nintendo has done this server maintenance. And then, guys, for our last topic in today's video, we do have to talk about Skyward Sword HD, and Nintendo now outlining some official quality of life improvements or enhancements. And there's nothing major that we didn't already kind of expect or know, but there are an official list of what they're changing and what kind of improvements we can expect in the game. As you know, to my surprise, we did not get like a what's new trailer like I was kind of expecting them to do, as they did for the Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD games, where they basically said, hey, here's the improvements that we made to the game, and here's what we changed, you know. And they haven't done anything like that for Skyward Sword HD, and we are now less than a month, if you guys can believe that, less than a month away from release. So there's, you know, no more time to really, you know, create another trailer. Maybe they put one out right before launch that details some stuff that we don't know. But I do want to hop over to this post that you can now see on the official product page for Skyward Sword HD, as it outlines a couple specific new details. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD takes the classic quest and optimizes it for Nintendo Switch, improving the experience in a number of ways, including enhanced performance, improved motion controls with the Joy-Con controllers, all new button controls allowing you to choose your style of play, various quality of life improvements, including refinements to player tutorials and general guidance throughout the adventure. So a couple things with the enhanced performance. We do know that this game is going to be running at 60 FPS, which is fantastic, because I don't believe it did that on the original Wii version, and the difference between 30 FPS and 60 FPS is actually relatively noticeable when you're playing a game. So that's a big deal to me, so I am glad we're getting that for sure. The biggest one, which we obviously already knew, and that's the biggest deal for me for this game, is the fact that we can now choose our play style. So I might actually mess around with the Joy-Con controls, because they apparently have been improved quite a bit from what the Wii controls were, as the Wii would just kind of get like randomly, it would point in the wrong direction. So even though I'm holding my sword up over the course of playing it, I might have to totally reset the motion on it because for some reason now Link's holding the sword sideways when it should be up. So that happened a lot to me on my first playthrough of the game, and it really demotivated me from replaying the Zelda game. So now I may check out, you know, how much the Joy-Cons have improved that experience, but I can tell you guys that I'm planning on my majority of all of the gameplay to take place with the button controls, as that's just how I like to play Zelda's 2D or 3D. I don't want to really have to mess with motion controls unless if I just want to, I'm just in that mood for maybe like an hour or two and then go back to the controller afterwards. So that's obviously the biggest change here that I think does justify the $60 price point of this game, that not all fans felt like it was justified. I think that that's big enough. I'm also not super huge like on the whole amiibo controversy thing, as I don't think that's such a huge deal, even though Nintendo is obviously doing something like a cash grab here, you know, doing the quick teleport system behind the amiibo. I still think that it's something that there's plenty of statues in the game and you're really not going to notice that big of a change from having that amiibo or not. And by the time you go find the amiibo, scan it onto the controller and do the teleport, it probably wouldn't have saved you that much time from just going to an owl statue anyway. But then guys, the major thing that we didn't know up to this point that they do detail here is that there is going to be a change in the overall tutorial of the game. And if you did play through the original, the opening tutorial is extremely long, but it does also reveal some story elements. So I'll be interested to see if they've refined that at all. But I think the big thing that they said, general like improvements for the helping assistant throughout the game, they're definitely talking about Fi, as she is one of the most obnoxious characters. I mean, you thought Navi was bad in Ocarina of Time. Navi never really bothered me that much. Fi did bother me in this game. So I am glad that it does look like they probably acknowledged that and took her, you know, her involvement more out of the picture, because if you guys don't know, she literally will sometimes tell you the solution to puzzles before you even begin to attempt them yourself, and it's really too much of a hand-holding mechanic in my opinion. So, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to them just having an option to disable her altogether and then maybe have an assist mode for younger kids that want to play through with Fi turned on. But obviously she's a pivotal part of the story, but I do think that it's good that Nintendo is doing some adjustments on her overall involvement. At least that's what this sounds like to me. So we'll have to wait and see what all changes, you know, happen at the end of this thing, as we're less than a month away, as I said. So, you know, it's very exciting for me as a Zelda fan. I'm super pumped to play this game again, and it does look like these are the official enhancements we can expect for the time being, you know, unless Nintendo releases some surprise what's changed trailer like I would expect them to do. But I don't know that we will get at this point, as we're so close to the release of the game. But at this point in the video, guys, I want to know all your thoughts on everything we talked about today. Are you personally a Castlevania fan, and will you be picking up this advanced collection that we're expecting to be released soon? And then also, you know, let me know about the Switch system update issue, if that was affecting you, and then your overall opinions on all these games selling so well with GameStop on pre-orders and what that means for you, and if you're picking up any of those games that were on the list. And then lastly, make sure you vote in today's community poll, as I did ask you guys the question on if you're planning on picking up Skyward Sword HD at launch, or if you're going to wait for reviews, or if you're planning on not getting it at all. So make sure you do all those things before you leave the video today. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out on this video if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's gonna do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.